or of vocation. I still remember, as if it were yesterday, the reaction of my own father when I told him, maybe a bit proudly, that I wanted to join the seminary. It must have been September 1979. And the reaction of my father astonished me. All hell broke loose. My father yelled at me furiously, saying that this would never happen. Over my dead body, my father said. I was taken aback by that violent reaction of my father, and he was like literally foaming at the mouth. Hardly ever had I seen him so angry. My father, who was that devout Catholic, and his entire life was one commitment to the church. He was a man of prayer and of active involvement. He was a member of the choir. He was one of the leading figures in the parish council. How could he ever arrive at such a violent reaction on the idea of a son joining the seminary? In his fury and in his rage, he shouted at me, saying, "You are much too young, my friend. I have no idea, and you have no idea what you're getting into. Did I not see the problems I was about to create for myself? Did I not see how many times priests are despised in society? Did I not see that my life would be a life full of difficulties and stumbling blocks? And had I not seen that priests who came to visit many times our home sometimes even cried in desperation, looking for some kind of consolation with my parents, because they didn't know how to handle a certain situation?" And he was like hurling all these things at my head, like a madman who is throwing stones left and right. And I only remember that I stood there flabbergasted without words. And my mother, as far as I can recall, didn't say very much. She just cried, as mothers many times do in those kind of situations, saying that she didn't understand her own son. That day was a dark day in my home. And I remember how immediately I left the house like a thief in the night, because my heart was confused and I needed some time to reflect on all what had just happened. However, for some kind of reason, maybe it was my age, indeed I was young, as my father said, but I decided to push on, even against the will of my parents. And my parents, more or less hesitantly, after a while gave in, struggling along, so to say, with my decision. Now, 45 years later, a long time after my parents died, I understand the doubts of my parents so much better. With their experience of life, they had foreseen the many challenges that I would have to face. They knew I would have to face the resistance of people who have no understanding of what priesthood is really about. And I had to experience the rejection of people who despise the Catholic Church and everything and everyone connected to it. My parents, they knew about the struggles of a priest who will have to adjust to the difficult demands of a celibate life. The first requirement for a priest, therefore, is not so much the intellectual knowledge. It's not so much about the theology, but it's much more about his psychological soundness and spiritual strength, so that he can face the many challenges of the world. It's not so much about your knowledge of theology, philosophy, however important it might be, but it is much more about your inner balance. Did you build your life on Christ, the rock? You can only be that good shepherd, as the gospel mentioned today. You can only be that good shepherd if you have the manly courage to face the many challenges that the flock, your sheep, have to face. You can only be of real meaning in somebody's life when you yourself had to face those same difficulties. Like today, You four, think of your own parents. Think of your brothers and sisters, your friends, the challenges they have to go through in finding a job and building up a family, the challenges of a couple that has to live together day and night, the children they have to care for, the problems people generally have to face in their lives, like sickness, unemployment, poverty, unfaithfulness, death. These are the major challenges people have to go through, rich or poor. Nobody escapes the cross in life. And as a good shepherd, you will have to be able to accompany the sheep in their many struggles. Because, let's face it, life is a struggle. You cannot escape it.